Back to the man of the moment who sang so fabulously before the break, Tom Baxter, especially the finish. I love the finish.
Thanks very much.
I've heard it a lot on the radio, but beautiful finish, it's great.
Yeah.
We've all been talking in the last couple of days when we knew we'd booked you on and you were coming on about how to define your music, because your album's full of different, it's very, very disparate, it's full of different styles and stuff. I mean, that to me was sort of Latino fused with a little bit of folk and balladeering. I mean, how would you define your own music?
Well, it's very difficult. As you said, it's quite eclectic, the record, and I suppose I'm very keen to keep branching out and trying different things. We were talking earlier about Paul Simon, and he's someone who's been a big influence. So he's kind of like a songwriter who's actually gone on to do all sorts of different things. And on this record, I've tried to use, I mean, when I first moved to London, I was a guitar player, so I've tried to use as much different guitar styles as possible, as well as, you know, mainly the songs. You know, it's all based around songs, but it's, instead of it just being like 10 songs of the same sort of song, it goes from very sort of optimistic to kind of, in some places it's, you know, it's got the dark side of it, and then, you know, there's other things like the influence of flamenco and stuff like that, which is a good example of that one, you know.
What's really interesting, I mean, not only is there that kind of eclectic fusion in your music, but in the, I mean, you were an art student, you studied art, didn't you? And in fact, we've got the story to tell about that in a minute. But you do actually, we've got some of your artwork which goes with some of your tracks on Skybound.
Well, all the tracks on the album.
Now that's the one you just sang, isn't it? Tell Her Today.
Tell Her Today, yeah. Well, what I did was I had this kind of romantic idea of, and it went back ages ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, which is that I wanted to write an album and do a piece of art to go with each track. And on this album I actually managed to do it because I had enough time and I didn't have anyone breathing down my neck, because I did it all off my own back and put all my own money into it. So it was a really lovely creative experience, and it's kind of ironic that that's been the thing that's actually brought me to sit down and have a chat with you now.
Because, I mean, if we just see two more, we've got another one. This is another track called Skybound.
Well, this is the title track.
Which is the title track, it's beautiful. And one more, just got time for one more, Better. Which actually, Better was the track which David Schwimmer used in his new movie, Big Fat Boy Run.
Run, Fat Boy,
Run, Fat Boy, Run, yeah. They're beautiful. The thing is, it was a mixture of art and actual necessity, because your label decided not to use you 3 or 4 years ago, big mistake. You did those works and you sold them at exhibition, and you used the money you got to fund studio time. You actually bought the studio time with the money you got from those paintings.
Well, it was kind of one of those very strange times where I'd left working with this major record company, and
whose name we are not going
to mention. But and I felt very, very determined that I was going to carry on. I'd always been doing been doing music, and I got signed quite late at the age of about 29, 30. So it really wasn't, you know, it was a bad thing, but at the same time I'd learnt a lot being in a major label. And so when I came out of that situation, I was very determined to do it the way I wanted to do it, because a lot of the time you kind of get knocked about a bit and sort of pushed about, and so I wanted to make sure that didn't happen, you know.
And how does it feel now? I mean, as I said, your album of the week on Radio 2, a lot of other radio stations have picked up on that as well, and they're playing your music a lot, you're getting a lot of airtime, and everyone's writing about you. Everybody, if you haven't heard your name, you'll hear it tomorrow, the day after, you know, you'll be getting very big. How does that must feel a wonderful kind of valediction of your decision to carry on and not say, OK, they dropped me, I'll go and work.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was saying to someone earlier that I have to almost think of myself in third person a lot of the time. I'm sure you guys do the same, but a lot of the time you're having to try and keep up with it, and obviously the nature of this business is it moves quite quickly when it moves. So I've just literally got back from, I've been away in South America for a few weeks, so I've come back. Yeah, and it's just all suddenly kicked off. So
you left early to get back and ride the wave.
So well, I had to come back early because obviously a lot of other things had happened, and a lot of other people wanted to do stuff, shows and things.
And of your background as well, your parents were sort of 60s folk singers, were they?
Yeah. Well, they were sort of on the circuit, and they did. We were talking about Paul Simon earlier on. My dad used to do gigs, and he did a gig particularly with Paul Simon, and he's often told me about that gig and how inspirational he was. But they got together, made a few records, did like Opportunity Knocks and things like that, and then had 4 sprogs, one of which I am, and they kind of stopped doing it, but then ended up buying a hotel in Suffolk, which I know you know.
In Bungay,
in
Bungay, because I used to be a reporter, I just say, for Anglia Television, so this is all part
of. And did they used to sing in the bar?
Bungay.
Did they used to sing in the bar for the guests?
All the time. I mean, it was a 24/7 job, so a lot of the time their relaxing time would have been at like somewhere between 12 and 2 o'clock at night. So being, you know, a whippersnapper, I'd be down at the bar with my brothers and stuff. Would be, you know, everyone would be drinking, of course. We're not meant to be in there, but we also had a nightclub at the back called Charlie's Bar, which was a very Bohemian place with we had sort of 3 or 4 different bands on each week, and theatre and dance and stuff like that. So I was very lucky. I grew up in this very sort of Bohemian lifestyle.
And did you join in? Did you learn the guitar as a kid?
I mean, by the time I was about 13, I'd started playing, actually, I got really into early sort of rock and roll, rockabilly stuff. So me and my brother started playing. My brother played drums, I played guitar, and we had a double bass player, and we used to support a lot of the bands that used to come in.
Fantastic.
So, you know, we got away with murder, really, because we were far too young to be in there. You know?
Sounds like a good life.
Oh, it was
Sounds-
fantastic.
What were your parents'
Yeah.
act called? You said they went on opportunity not
It
to
was
start.
Jeff and Julie, their name was,
Right.
yeah, and they did relatively well within the
circuit.
time, you know, because you know, my dad always laugh at him because my mum and dad both just kind of ended up coming to London, sort of playing in a bar, met each other, you know. All this stuff kicked off, and he's always saying, "Oh, just go and do that." As I said, it's not like that anymore. It's in the '60s, you know.
Yeah.
And I had to slog my way through it, you know.
It's a business now.
Yeah.
But but it's lovely. I mean, it's an amazing time for me because I put so much work into it, and particularly this album, I put my heart and soul into it.
Well, it sounds
Fantastic.
like you did, and that's
Lots
what
of
comes out of
Well, thanks very
out of
much.
the
And it's
tracks. Thank
skybound
you.
and it was reduced.
I hope not yet.
Hold on. Yeah, they
Give it a few
can't
weeks.
shift them. They
Sorry.
can't shift them.
No,
Okay.
it was released, I meant to say. The beginning of this week, wasn't it?
Yeah,
On
the beginning of this
Saturday.
week, yeah.
Same day we came back on air. There it is. Okay, thank you.
And it was
Thank you very
going-
much.
It was going so well.
Too well. obviously.
Too well, yeah. Had to go wrong.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.